I heard oh, that's my iPad. I thought something stopped recording. That's the Siri. Oh, nope. I don't use Apple products. Siri, go away.
Okay.
Wow, I feel like that was a little sassy, but I guess I was sassy too. Sorry if I insulted Siri. Hello, welcome to episode 31 of the papercraneyarns knitting podcast. My name is Ashley and I am a knitter, a yarn dyer, and a yarn store owner located in Central Alabama, USA. I'm coming to you from my shop expansion. So if you're familiar with my business, my channel, I have been working on expanding my yarn store now for about a year, I think. I've lost track. And we're finally done. So that's where I'm sitting today. My usual yarn wall that's normally behind me is gone. The yarn's moved, but that wall is actually gone. Most of it anyway. So we cut a hole in between our two units and combined. So now I have a much big, I just touched the microphone. Now I have a much bigger space. So we have this whole side of the building, and then I have the other unit, which was the old shop that you might be familiar with. So we've done it. We're done. It's behind us. There's still a ton to do in terms of getting the new space exactly how I want it. And there's actually some more to do with like the actual renovation. But for the most part, we're done with the hard part. So that's super great. I'm very excited. And now I can finally come back and record. I have not made a sit-down podcast episode since September. I think it must have been September. In October, I did do Vlogtober, so I did every single day a vlog. Some of them were very long. It was practically like having a podcast, but all October I did Vlogtober. So I actually got a ton of new subscribers during that time period. So some of you, this might be maybe your introduction to me in this sit-down video blog podcast format. But oh my goodness, I'm so excited. I have a million things to show you guys. I'm actually a bit overwhelmed with how much I have to show with all the projects I've been working on. We traveled to Rhinebeck. We went to New York Sheep and Wool this year. And just, I have a ton of stuff, an unhealthy amount of stuff, I think. Anyway, I just wanted to say all of that as my introduction since it's been a while. But I am so glad to be back and so glad to be mostly done with the shop expansion. I also have a microphone today. I got this microphone a while back. This is actually the second one I've tried. My first one was complete. It was a complete failure, sadly. But then I got this one a couple of months ago, and I've done some audio tests and I've used it a couple of times for some other things. And I think it's going to work out, but I'm a little bit nervous. Let's all hope, because it's very hard for me to find the time to sit down and record. Let's all hope that this microphone works. Okay, let's go ahead and start with my finished objects first, because I have quite a few, and then I'll show you my works in progress, and we can talk a little bit about my spinning and my unacceptable amount of purchases. We'll save that for more at the end. Okay, so finished objects. The one I'll start with is what I'm wearing. This is another Love Note sweater. Love Note is a TinCanKnits pattern, and it is a paid-for pattern. So I'm calling this my Rhinebeck Road Trip Love Note. I cast this on back in October to take with me to New York Sheep and Wool, since we drove all the way to New York from Alabama. So I had a lot of knitting time. I mean, I did a lot of the driving, but I knew I would have plenty of time to knit, and I even found a lot of time to knit in the Airbnb that we stayed in, which was great. If you would have watched my Vlogtober, you would have seen me winding up this yarn, deciding to bring this project, and I cast on, I believe, in the car. So the Love Note sweater, I've knit 4 of these. It starts with a provisional cast on. I can't remember now if I did that in the car or if I did it before I left may have been before I left, but regardless, I knit the majority of this in the car ride. So this is a top-down construction lace yoke pattern, and I knit mine kind of cropped. My sleeves are about, when they're out, when my arms are outstretched, they're a little bit longer, but like this, it's sort of bracelet length. There are no decreases in the sleeves, so they're a little bit oversized, just the perfect amount. And the whole sweater has a lot of ease built in, but with it being cropped, it kind of balances itself out. And anyway, this is one of my favorite patterns. So I've made 3 for myself and 1 for my daughter, but I have plans to make more for my daughter. This will probably be my last one for quite a while. I think I'm set. I love this one though. And I really feel like this color is my color. I don't have anything else in my wardrobe that's this color, and I really like it. So I'm going to make some more stuff, I think, in this color family. The yarn is a merino nylon fingering weight base held double with a Surrey alpaca lace weight base. Both of the yarns are from StressKnits, Stacey Elstone. I got the yarns a couple of months ago when she was sort of doing like her last regular update before she's like taking a break from dyeing, I guess. I used 2 different colorways. The fingering weight strand was on her favorite base, which is a 2-ply merino nylon. And I got the colorway Eucalyptus, which is kind of a very light, it's lighter than the overall sweater. So it's in this, it's like, I mean, obviously it's this color, but it's a lighter version, but I held it double with her cloud base, which is Surrey alpaca. And that was the Mountain Mama colorway, which is a bit more of a rich green, like not quite green velvet couch, but definitely richer green than the Eucalyptus colorway. So held together, they kind of toned each other down, and it came out with this perfect, in my opinion, fabric color at the end. I heard oh, that's my iPad. I thought something stopped recording. That's the Siri. Oh, nope. I don't use Apple products. Siri, go away.
Okay.
Wow, I feel like that was a little sassy, but I guess I was sassy too. I don't use Apple products. Oops. Okay. I'm sorry if I insulted Siri. Anyway, I really like the fabric. This is knit on, I think, a 4.5 millimeter, or no, a bigger needle. So it's a pretty loose gauge, really big stitches. And yeah, just such a fun knit. The lace pattern is extremely easy to get through. There's nothing super special or difficult about it, but it's absolutely beautiful. And then you just have a lot of stockinette. So the sleeves are easy. Everything's simple. Even the provisional cast on. Love Note was the first sweater I ever did a provisional cast on with. And so I learned that way. And I really liked that cast on, and I've used it many times since. And so if that is causing you to concern, don't worry about it. It's very easy, especially with YouTube University. There's all kinds of good tutorials. I like the method that involves using the crochet hook. I find that to be really simple, and yeah, I can't recommend that more. I think maybe I've used the Very Pink Knits tutorial for that, but you can also, there are lots of people who have knit this without the provisional cast on and just cast on the number of stitches you would need for the neckline, which you can find, I think, at the end of the pattern. And then they've done increases in the yoke to get up to the yoke, since it's a circular yoke, to get up to the stitch count for that. So you could also do that. I haven't done that, but I'm sure it'd be pretty easy. So anyway, stand up a little bit and just kind of show you. This one is definitely more cropped, and it's a little bit longer in the back. But the lace goes all the way around. It's so beautiful. And the sweater weighs practically nothing. So I used kind of like, I used a little bit over 1 full skein of the fingering weight. It wasn't much at all. So a little bit over 100 grams of the fingering weight, and a little more than 1 skein of the lace weight, which is 50 grams. I haven't weighed the total project, but I would say this is probably about 150 grams, like a little bit over. So it's extremely light. And this was my first time using Surrey alpaca. I really loved it. So I've used silk mohair many times. I've used the brushed cashmere kind of alternative that's been really popular recently. But this was my first time using Surrey alpaca, and I completely love it. It is so beautiful. It's not going to replace silk mohair for me because I love mohair, but I'm going to use it probably just as often. So anyway, I think that's enough about my love note. I could go on and on. I just love this pattern. I think it's a really great, like, second sweater pattern or first sweater if you have a couple of projects under your belt. I think just about any knitter could probably do this if they wanted to. So that's my love note, one of them. So for my next finished object, this is something I showed on Vlogtober. So again, if you watch that, this might be repetitive for you, but I haven't shown it in a podcast. So this is the Rhinebeck Doodle Cowl. This is a test knit that I did for Jamie Lomax of Pacific Knit Co. And these are all my these are all my hand-dyed yarns except for the green. That was left over from my Stego sweater, which was a Yarnaceous Fibers yarn. That's the Stegosaurus colorway. But the rest of them are my hand-dyed yarns. I dyed myself a little kit, and I just had so much fun. I love the doodle patterns. I know you guys do too. I've gotten to test knit for her 3 times now, and I think I'm pretty much going to sign up for every test that she ever puts out because it's one of my most favorite types of projects to knit. But this one was especially special because it was for Rhinebeck. So she released the pattern on Friday, I believe, like the day before New York Sheep and Wool. So that would have been the day of Woolen Folk, which I attended, and India Untangled, and some other adjacent events. But so then I got to take this to Woolen Folk where she was vending, and I got to show it to her in person. That was really fun. I'm sure you already know about Woolen Folk, but it was super overwhelming, so I didn't get to spend much time, but I was actually the first person they let into Woolen Folk, so I made a beeline and showed this to her and then pretty much left right after. But anyway, we won't go into that. Everybody's talked it to death already. So, the most fun kind of project. I did the Infinity Cowl, the largest size, and I grafted mine to have a twist in it. So this is the same exact thing I did with my Ocean Doodle Cowl back in the summertime. And I just love, I'm not going to put it on because of the microphone, but maybe I'll try to put in a picture or something. It'll definitely be linked down below in Ravelry. But it sits really well up on the neck. So it's about 10 inches width-wise. And so it sits up really well. There's a lot of structure to it, but it's really cozy too. And I should say, if you're not familiar with the doodle patterns, this is a sort of choose your own adventure knitting pattern. So each design is based on a theme. So I mentioned there's like an ocean one. She has autumn. She's got, she did one for Seattle for Flock Fiber Fest. And I saw she has a Rose City, like the Rose City Portland yarn crawl. She's doing one for Portland, Oregon. So Rose City. Anyway, she's got a bunch. And this one being Rhinebeck, it has all kinds of sheep and leaves. Oh yeah, to finish what I was saying, it's sort of a choose your own adventure. So she gives you the basic recipe for whichever kind of project you're going to make. So she does infinity cowls and she does like standard cowls that are single-sided. So you take that recipe and all of her measurements and numbers. So you have your basic recipe and then you have a ton of charts to choose from. Lots of little charts that all have the same number of stitches across. So these all plug into the pattern recipe super easily. So I want to say they're 24 or 28 stitches across. One of those two. And that means that they each can stack and you can pick whichever ones you want. She does like really big charts. She does little mini charts, like narrow charts that you can put in between bigger ones if you want to. But really the possibilities are endless, and no two cowls, no two doodle projects are going to be the same because there's so many different ways that you can knit them. So this was actually how I started mine. I am not the type with these patterns to sit down and plan out every single thing. I kind of just let it speak to me. So I'll pick, like, oh, I have to have this chart. So I'll go ahead and do a chart. And for me, that was these bunnies. I definitely wanted the bunnies. And then from there, I just pick what I think is going to look the best. And you know how many inches you need for your total cowl depending on what size you're making. So you can kind of plan your charts as you go according to that. So if there's something you really want to make sure you'll get into the pattern, maybe you can consider how, based on your gauge, how many inches that would be, and just know that you want to make room for that somewhere in there. Very simple, not scary knitting math at all. Very easy knitting math. So yeah, I did the bunnies, and then I moved on to these pumpkins, which I thought were really fun. And then I thought I needed like a filler chart. And then my method for doing the doodle patterns is I never repeat colors in between charts. So every chart is broken up by other colors. So like where I used the orange here, I separated it and had like a brown and a beige. And then I did use the orange again because I wanted there to be a lot of orange, but I didn't let them touch. So that way there's a lot of contrast. I think this is actually my favorite section right here. So I did the sheep. I knew I wanted a little bit of repeat here, and I loved the sheep. And then this color combo, this rose pink and this nice cranberry color, I wanted those together, and then the orange with those. I just had so much fun. And then the bright pop of red I thought would be like a brilliant little addition to the overall look. And then this part felt really meta because you were knitting a colorwork sweater onto a colorwork cowl, which was really fun. So I definitely enjoyed that. I threw in a pop of blue. That was part of the original kit that I dyed for myself, but I realized I wasn't going to use it quite as much as the other colors, but I liked adding it in there. And these are skeins of yarn. This is the only chart that I wish I would have done the colors differently, because I feel like I have to tell you what that is for you to know. So I should have maybe done the colors the reverse way, but I was getting to the point where I needed a couple of small charts, so I just threw that in. I did do a pop of red here, so to tie it in a little bit, and I thought that was so fun. The bright candy apple red is a lot of fun here. And then there's another sheep chart, so in this way, so these ones are a little bit different. These are like the mini sheep in a row, and then these ones are facing. And this colorway I did dye, but that was just something I was kind of running out of some other colors, because initially I only dyed 20 gram skein, so I had to dye a couple things over again. Anyway, I threw in this one little leftover. This is my tea with honey colorway. And that's how I finished it. And so then I grafted together here with a Kitchener stitch. And that's all she wrote. I should mention one last thing. This chart is actually not part of the Rhinebeck Doodle Cowl. When we were in the test group, it was like day one. Jamie's of course looking for feedback on what we're testing this pattern. She's looking for feedback. And one thing that everybody said was, it's Rhinebeck, it's New York, it's autumn, we have to have coffee. So she did want us to only use the charts from the pattern, but then she sent us a couple of her coffee charts. So I think this is the chart from the autumn to expansion, perhaps. But it's cute. It's coffee mugs with hearts, and I did some little steam in the blue color. But yeah, that's one of my favorite knits to date. I say that all the time, but this one is very special. There's fun memories in it, and I think it's beautiful. That's my Rhinebeck Doodle Cowl. So I think this sweater and maybe one other project are the only two things that I was working on the last time I recorded back in September. And then I finished this in October. So this is a fun project. This is called Avena by Jennifer Steingass, and it is a top-down colorwork yoke sweater. The majority of sweaters that I make, I feel like, are top-down for one. That's something I prefer, and I love colorwork, so I do lots of colorwork as often as I can. But this sweater, this was a pattern that I actually picked to go with the yarn. So some of you may already know this, but this colorway that's in my yoke, the contrast, this was actually my first skein of plied handspun. So not my first handspun, but the first time I plied handspun and created a skein to work with. This is from Sherwood Fiber Arts, and they are a local to me yarn and fiber dyer. And we've done a couple of shows together over the years. And the last show we did together, a show we did together in June, I picked up this Rambouillet fiber from her. I hadn't even gotten my spinning wheel yet. I ordered it like the next day because I knew it was coming. And so I just was like, I'm going to hang on to it to support her business and to stock up on a really beautiful fiber. And I just realized my daughter put food hands all over this, so I'm going to have to wash it because it's a little crusty, so I won't show you that part. But this colorway is called Antique Mauve. That's their, see if it'll focus. Hopefully that's focusing. But that's the name of the colorway for the Rambouillet. This was the first and only time I've spun Rambouillet, and it was definitely tough, but if I was to spin it now with my skills, I would do a much better job. But I got a very thick and thin kind of yarn, which ended up being perfect for this yoke. I feel like, because there's little pops of fiber where I had some thicker parts in the yarn. I would say that's like a really marshmallowy, it's like super fluffy fiber. And it's a little bit hard to draft. It's like kind of tough while being very soft. So again, I think I have the skills for that now, but at the time it was like all over the place. But I was basically left with I want to say 100 grams. I had about 100 grams. I started with 4 ounces, so I lost a little bit in the process, but I had just enough to do the yoke. So I think I had just enough to do all but the last 2 rows of the chart, and those were kind of inconsequential to the overall look, so it worked out just fine, which means every little bit of the skein that I made ended up in this sweater, which is really awesome. And the main colorway, this is one of my hand-dyed yarns. This is, so I keep going back and forth. I have 2 different colorways that are very similar, but I came up with them at the same time when I was kind of experimenting. And so the color in the yoke, these were from 2 different dye lots. The color in the yoke is different from the rest of the body. You can probably kind of tell, but it's lighter in the yoke. And that colorway I'm calling Swamp Lore. It's like a kind of emerald green over dyed with black and navy. Maybe with this lighting, you can't see it super well. But then this colorway is what I came up with before that one. And this one I'm calling Wormwood Elixir. And again, with the current lighting, I don't think it's picking it up, but it's very, very emerald green, like almost bright emerald green, but then over dyed quite a bit with black and navy. So it's really pretty. It's not a black. I can't get it to, I think because I don't have studio lighting, it's not really lighting it up, but you can just take my word for it. There's a lot of depth to this color. And so anyway, these were supposed to be the same color, but this is the color I'm trying to dye. So this one up here was kind of more experimenting and realizing it didn't work really, or not the way that I wanted it to. So Swamp Lore and Wormwood Elixir are basically the same colorway. I'm trying to figure out exactly what I'm going to do with all of that, but I'm still working on it. But yeah, so this is really nice. I knit size 1 because I've knit Jennifer Steingass patterns in the past, and I made one, Aurealis, and it's way too big, and it's a size 3, so I decided with this one, I didn't even gauge swatch because I knew that the bulky kind of hand spun would throw off the gauge in the yoke anyway, so I just went ahead and did size 1 with the recommended needles, and it works perfectly. It was the perfect fit. So anyway, I'm so glad to have this one done. Maybe I should show it up too all at once. I love this yoke design. I think it's really pretty, and it really allows the hand spun to shine because I had such high contrast between that skein and the main skein. I feel like the effect is really lovely. You can definitely get a better sense of it when I hold it back here. And I didn't mention, but this is a worsted weight pattern. So my main skein is on my 100% superwash merino worsted base, which is one of my favorite because it's so soft. My only thing with worsted weight is my hands get extremely tired knitting anything above DK weight. So my preferred knitting is fingering weight with very small needles because that's what I feel comfortable with. I can knit quickly and it doesn't hurt my hands, but worsted weight really hurts my hands. So I had to take this project a little bit slower than some of my others. But here's my floats, and you can kind of get a better sense of like the fluffy, thick and thin parts of the yarn. There's a lot of fluff that's poking out on the side. I just love floats. I think they're so fun. But that is my Avena sweater. So the next finished object I'm going to talk about, this is a bit awkward. I should have double checked. I cannot remember if I showed this one in episode 30. I might have even worn it in episode 30. So I'll be brief. Because I now I'm thinking I showed it. Anyway, maybe you're new here and you didn't see it. This is called Tuku by ThePetiteKnitter. And I knit this as one of my Rhinebeck sweaters. So I wore this one on Saturday of New York Sheep and Wool. So we did Friday Wool and Folk, unfortunately. We did Saturday and Sunday of New York Sheep and Wool. So we had 3 days, plus lots of traveling days. So I had lots of opportunities to wear different hand knits. And this is what I wore on Saturday. So I wore it with some tight black skinny jeans, and I had thigh-high black boots on, and then a wide-rimmed wool black hat. And I also had in hair extensions, so like I have some clip-in extensions that are this color at the top and then super blonde on the bottom. And so I wore all of that because I thought it would be fun. And there's some pictures of that on my Instagram, or maybe I'll put one here. I think I took a cute picture with like a maple leaf. But this one was a lot of fun. Now, I'm not going to go in depth because I think I've talked about this one a good bit. But this was knit out of Tuku wool, the DK weight Tuku wool, and that's what the pattern is named after. It's Tuku. I'll have put it on the screen already. But my main color was Nila, and then the contrast, I think I had Saki, which is this white. This is a beautiful finished sheep wool. And I'm actually going to be carrying it in my shop as soon as I have the money to place an order with them. I'm really excited. I love this wool. It's very toothy. It's a non-superwash. This is a very woolly wool, extremely warm. This was perfect for that day. And it also rained a good bit on Saturday. But wool being kind of hydrophobic, I didn't feel like I was getting wet. So it was nice. It was a great sweater to wear. It has, I don't want to hold anything up to me with this microphone just in case, but it has kind of like this higher neck. Here, you can kind of picture kind of this higher neck that sits up a little bit, like midway up your neck. And then these long sleeves. There's a little bit of, I don't think there was any shaping, maybe a little bit towards the bottom. No, I think there was, but they're still a little bit oversized. And I do remember mine was going to be too big. So I'm pretty sure I did like a rapid decrease, or I added some extra decreases at the cuff because I wanted it to be tight around my wrist. And I think even then I could have decreased a little bit more. But anyway, I did that. So that was a modification, if I'm remembering correctly. But this one, my version has no short rows, and that's how the pattern is written. But there is an option in there that she's put in to add bust darts if you need a little bit more room in the front. I am usually somebody who does, because my bust to waist ratio is pretty different. So I'm usually all about the short rows or the bust darts. I need that extra room. But I knit a bigger, so the point of this sweater is to kind of have a lot of positive ease, because it has this really cute cropped cut, and with this neckline it brings everything up quite a bit. So I didn't go with the short rows, and I picked, I think, the right size for me for that to work out just fine. I remember when I first knit this, I had wished overall that I had gone down one size. I think this might be the size 3. I wished that I had knit size 2, but I did have to modify. So I knit the whole body for the size 3. I did a tubular bind off and everything. And then I tried it on. I blocked it because I was thinking it looked really big. So I tried it on, and it was very unflattering. It came down to my hips, and I knit it to the length called for in the pattern, but it went down to my hips. It had way too much positive ease to be cute. Granted, I didn't have the sleeves on yet, so adding the sleeves, I think, would have given it kind of like a sweatshirt sort of look, but that's not what I was going for. So I had to take out the tubular bind off, which was not fun in this kind of yarn, and then I had to rip out many inches of the body. So thankfully I was able to just kind of pick up where I had ripped back to and then just knit the ribbing again and do a tubular bind off. So I ended up taking off quite a few inches. All that to say, the size 3 works perfectly since I went back in and I shortened the fabric. So now the sweater is perfect. It actually needs a wash because I've worn it a good bit. But I love the yoke. It's snowflakes and it's really pretty. I don't have a lot of things like this in my wardrobe because I tend to go for, it's like I love this kind of stuff. It's so classic. But when it comes to color work, I end up knitting a lot of like, I don't know, really bold color work charts, I guess. But this one's very bold in a different way. So anyway, that's Tuku. I love this sweater. It's so cute. ThePetiteKnitter has quite a few patterns I would like to knit, including her, I think it's called Saxy, which is the name of her rabbit, if I am remembering correctly. I actually just ordered some yarn to knit that one. That's going to be a fingering weight sweater. And I had like a ton of reward money in an app or something. So I was able to get some Harrisville Designs Shetland, which is their fingering weight, like rustic wool. I was able to get it very cheap. So I got a full cone of their Loden blue colorway, which from the picture, it looks kind of like a radiant navy blue. And then I got a skein of white for the color work. So I'm going to do a rabbit sweater. I was hoping to test knit that sweater when she came out with it a few months ago, but I didn't get in, but I knew I was going to knit it eventually. So that's coming. Okay, I told you guys this would be like the longest episode ever. I feel like I've barely scratched the surface. I might have to move on a little bit faster with everything else. So my next finished object is a current test knit for Tif Neilan, and this pattern will be out very soon. She had to push it back a little bit for personal reasons, but we shouldn't be too far out from the release of this pattern. I have put a picture of this on Instagram, so you may have seen this, but this is called the Willow Branch pullover, and this is a worsted weight pattern. It is very similar to the Love Note. It's a top-down construction. It's a lace yoke, and this one you actually pick up the collar at the end and knit it that way. But it's a very beautiful lace chart. There's lots of texture in this. I'm sure that's coming across pretty well. It looks like it is. It's very, very beautiful. And it goes all the way around, so it's front and back, of course. And then it has these really cute sleeves, so they're a bit wide, and then you're supposed to have about 5 inches of ribbing around the cuff. I did have to modify mine a little bit because, once again, I have a history of doing this, I think. It's like I don't trust that I'm going to fit the size that I'm supposed to according to my measurements, so I end up going a size bigger than I think I'll need, and then I end up regretting it. So I'm trying to really be mindful of all of the specific measurements in each pattern now before I knit them, because I don't want to end up with a sweater that's definitely too small. That's not usually happened because I usually size up, but then I end up with sweaters that are too big and I don't love them. And sadly, that was the case with this one. So anyway, I had to modify my sleeve. So I did change the decrease rate in the pattern, and then I ended up knitting a shorter cuff because originally I was going to have a contrast color for my cuff, because when we were test knitting it, even though the picture sample that she sent us with the file didn't have contrast cuffs, she had a note in there that I think her original intention was to have a contrast cuff for the pattern. So this sweater is really fun, even if it doesn't fit me great, because I actually found out that I got accepted for the test knit on my way to Rhinebeck. And so I was able to purchase my yarn at New York Sheep and Wool to knit this pattern. And then what was really fun was, this was on Sunday morning that I bought this yarn, and I got it from Sauk Hill Fiber Farm, their booth. And as soon as I came out of the barn where I bought this, Tif Neilan was just there. And so I was like, oh, hey, Tif? And she was like, yeah, I think I freaked her out a little bit. But anyway, I said, oh, I'm one of your test knitters and I just bought my yarn. And the person she was with, who I didn't recognize, but I'm sure that they're probably a designer or something, she was like, oh, let's see the yarn. And so I showed her my 2 colorways. So this is Sawkill Fiber Farm. This is their 2-ply worsted. Here's the label. It's 3-ply worsted. And the colorway is Squashed Peach Heathered. So it's a heathered colorway. And it is, so this is from New York. That's where this farm is, with of course being Sawkill. And it's 50% Sawkill farm wool and 50% domestic merino, and it's actually spun in Vermont. But this is 3.5 ounces and 200 yards. So I would say this is definitely on the thicker side of some worsted weight yarns, but the yarn that she used for designing the pattern had a very similar, it was like, it might have even been exactly this. So I figured this would be a good choice. But anyway, so I had originally picked up 4 skeins of this peach colorway and 1 skein of this gorgeous navy. I'm really not a navy person, but recently I've been enjoying it. But this particular shade of navy is beautiful. Again, with the lighting, maybe you can't see it as well, but it's really pretty. And you can see it's in a ball because my plan was to do these 2 colors together, and I think these colors look really stunning. It's kind of like varsity kind of look to it, but or like seaside, I don't know. It's very pretty. This would have been my cuff, but the issue is that I'm trying to get to, with this whole sweater being a little bit too big and me having to shorten the sleeves, by the time I introduced the navy for the cuff, it didn't make sense. So if the cuff had started up higher on my arm, like if the yoke depth wasn't so long and the sleeve itself would have been longer, I could have done the contrast and it would have looked great. But I knit maybe an inch or 2 with the contrast, and I just went ahead and decided it wasn't going to work, which made me very sad because I loved this colorway. And this is some of the most expensive yarn I have ever bought. It was like $33 a skein. I know there are more expensive yarns, but for 5 skeins, that was a very expensive project, which is part of why I'm disappointed that I knit not the best size for myself. I'm trying to decide what to do from here. Like, do I rip it out and just knit the size smaller because I love this pattern so much? It's so pretty. Do I rip it out and do it again, or do I just keep this as kind of like a sweatshirt? But it's, you know, a very expensive sweatshirt. When I wanted to wear this over skirts and dresses, I'm going to stop talking for a second so I can hold it up and not worry about the microphone. So yeah, it's a pretty large sweater for my frame. Yeah, I'm going to have to decide what to do. But I think I put all of my notes for that on my Ravelry tester page. So when this pattern comes out, you can kind of maybe look at the notes. I also went down like a couple of extra needle sizes for the sleeves, different stuff. But overall, a beautiful pattern. I want to definitely knit this pattern again. Either rip this out, use this yarn again, or use some different yarn and make a better size for myself. I did get gauge, so I need to figure that out. And again, like the Tuku, I did end up shortening mine since the yoke depth and the overall size was longer than my frame. So I did not knit the body according to the recommended row count. So she actually designed this pattern with row counts for different lengths. And of course, that's if you get gauge, but I did not do as many rows as she called for the body. I did maybe half of them, actually, maybe a little bit more. Anyway, that's my Willow Branch. This is such a fun pattern to look forward to. I think it's really beautiful for dressing up, or again, like a cozy sweatshirt. This would be very pretty to just throw on also. But I do have one more mostly finished thing, I guess, and that is Mia the Panda from the Louise Crowther Knitted Wild Animal Friends book. She clearly doesn't have her clothes yet, and I also have not sewn on her button eyes because this is for my daughter, and she is so in love with this panda. I have not been able to have it long enough for myself to knit it, to finish it. So it's a little bit worse for the wear, and I just knit it because she takes it everywhere in my shop, and she's making a mess out of it. So, but that's what it's for, so that's okay. But I do want to finish. I want to make her clothing. I have all the yarn, and I just need to sit down and do it. I want to sew on her eyes, which I have the buttons on my counter, but she's really cute. This was a very quick knit, so I just decided one day to finally go ahead and knit this pattern up, because now I will say her head is wobbly, and I think that was a me thing. I did add in kind of like some rebar to kind of attach long snoot to the body a little bit more, but still her head's a little bit floppier than I think it's supposed to be. I'm not sure if my face is too long, but I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's a toy. I had the yarn for this for like a year, and I wanted to go ahead and do it. So very fast knit. I would have had this done in a week. There we go. I would have had this done in like a week, but I actually ran out of the black yarn, which surprised me because I should have, according to the pattern, that should have been enough. So my gauge might have been a little bit bigger. I'm not sure. So I had to order another skein of it. It's the Sheepya's, you know what I mean, Katona, or the clothing is Katona. This is the stone washed. So right now Mia only has stone washed cotton. It's a cotton acrylic blend, and it's very pretty, but this black is the onyx, and the white might just be called white. It's whatever was called for in the pattern. Anyway, I ran out of the black, so I had to wait for some to come in. I got it from Jimmy Bean's Wool, and while I was at it, I went ahead and ordered the yarn to knit the koala. So I'm going to make the koala next, and I got her clothing yarn. But yeah, very quick and honestly quite easy. I do not like seaming, and there is a lot of seaming in this pattern because this one is not knit in the round. Everything is knit flat and then seamed, and there is lots of clever construction to this. Like, it was so simple, the shaping of the ears, the way that you do it, but everything, again, you have to seam. So you have to seam the ears closed and then to the head, and you've got to seam the legs to the body. You've got to seam the body shut. There were certain times when I thought this could have been knit in the round, but she, being an experienced toy knitter and designer, I'm sure she had her reasons, maybe to do with the shaping or what have you. But anyway, 10 out of 10 would knit again. I loved this pattern. I can't wait to finish her. That's on my short list of things to do. And I will say, these are amazingly big. I'm not sure if my gauge was a little bit off. I know that these are kind of big from watching people's videos, but having one in my hands, it's a very big toy, which is exciting because that's what I would have wanted. So perfect, spot on. Okay, let's talk now about my many works in progress. I have more works in progress right now than like ever. It's giving me a little bit of anxiety. I don't even know what order to go in. I stopped for a water break so I could compose myself a little bit. I'm not drinking coffee today, which I think was the best idea that I could have had, since a lot of times I drink coffee, and then the longer I sit here and the more excited I get about yarn and knitting, I get kind of like, I don't know. I have a hard time when I sit down and edit and realize just how all over the place I was. So hopefully just drinking water today, I'm not quite as chaotic. Okay, so in this bag, which I don't think I've shown on a podcast because I think it came in during October. So I remember showing it on Vlogtober, maybe the beginning of October, but I don't think I've shown it on a podcast. But this bag is from Barley Pearls, and I think they're based in Arkansas, perhaps. I don't know. I learned about them from the We Share Needles podcast, and they had these beautiful bags for autumn. They had another one that had a mouse wearing like an adventurer's cape, and I think he had a sword, and it was beautiful. When I went to order this one, that one was sold out, and so I got this one instead, but I'm really happy with it. I'm glad I got this one. I actually have seen that other fabric, the mouse, on Spoonflower, so I thought about buying some for myself and making like a big project bag, not to sell, because I feel like even though lots of people use the same fabrics, I feel like this is such a distinct one that I don't want to take their idea and turn around and sell it, but I might make one for myself. But anyway, this one's like a cute little hedgehog, and he's foraging mushrooms. So I love this one. It's very well made. I opted to get this additional handle added to it for a couple dollars more, but it's very worth it. And it's a zipper, which is my favorite kind of project bag. And on the inside, it's like this tan and cream gingham, and there is a fabric, a contrast fabric for a little pocket that's forest green with mushrooms. Very cute. And in this bag, I have one of my most exciting knits because this was a colorway that I dyed in my Spirited Away collection a couple of months ago. And I pretty much only saved one of the sock sets for myself. And that was the Chihiro colorway because it was my favorite. It's the one that I started the whole collection with. It's the one that was the most important to me. And so yeah, I saved a Chihiro sock set and I've knit something really cool with it. Again, I showed this on Vlogtober, but worth showing here for sure. I need to just sit down and knit the second one, but I have so many things going on right now. So I am knitting the Cider House socks by Summer Lee, and I have a complete one. I didn't bring a blocker over, and I should have because I haven't blocked this yet, but it's incredibly beautiful. So I've been in love with this pattern for a long time. I always knew one day I would make it, and so I'm glad that I finally did with this sock set in particular. I think is so beautiful. So of course I added a little bit of this cream, like an undyed merino from my stash, and otherwise I just used, this was the contrast mini that came with my full skein. This skein is called Chihiro, and then the contrast is called, I can't think of it right now. I named all of the contrasts for the whole collection a quote that was either said by the character or about the character. Now I can't remember what quote. Anyway, so yeah, I added the white. But this is such a beautiful sock. So it has cables, the cutest, easiest little cables. And this cuff is really what drew me into this pattern because so her samples, she uses like this poppy red kind of color with the white for this striped cuff, and then choosing like a totally different colorway for the sock. It makes me feel like sock monkey vibes. I think it's so cute. I'm planning on knitting a bunch of these. Like I could see myself knitting all of my socks going forward like this. It's just really cute. And trying out different color combos for this. I want to make more of this particular combination because I think it's really pretty, but I just love this pattern. I wish I would have blocked it so you could see it better. But then the toe has the same creamy white toe. But this, again, one of the prettiest, simple but so pretty stitch designs, and it fits perfectly. And I think it's really cute with the sweater. And I have now for a couple of months been obsessed with the color combination of like this minty spring sage kind of green with the bright red. I think is such a beautiful combination. And in fact, I would like to get an undershirt for this sweater that's red and white striped like this because I think it would be really pretty. So that's on my goal list if I come across a top like that. But yeah, so I have a full sock and I need to knit the second one. This was another project that I took to New York Ship and Wool. So I cast it on, I think, right before I left and maybe did the cuff. And then I finished the sock on the trip. So very fun. I can't wait to knit the second one. My next work in progress I'm going to show you is one I've actually been working on maybe the longest out of everything I have here right now. And it is definitely this project takes a while is the thing. So I started this maybe at the end of September, maybe at the beginning of October. So really it hasn't been too long, but for me, I feel like it's been a long time. But it is an intense knit. Not a difficult pattern, but a lot of knitting. And that it's a brioche cardigan. It's like this squishy, golden, perfect brioche cardigan. I think it's stunning. This is Agneet by ThePetiteKnitter. And I've been wanting to make like a beautiful, squishy brioche cardigan for a while now. And I found this pattern by ThePetiteKnitter. I think it came out this year. I want to say it's one of the newer patterns. And I thought it was perfect. So I have only ever done one little bit of brioche before, and that was in my shawlography Stephen West in 2021. So I was like, I can learn brioche, and it's single color, and it turns out it's so simple. When I did shawlography, I was still a new knitter, so I thought it's like, hey, I can do it, but it wasn't super easy. This is so easy. In fact, my hands almost instinctively now go into brioche instead of like knit purl when you're doing ribbing. I almost instinctively do brioche because it's so comfortable in the hands. So single color is very simple. But this has been this took a lot of setup to get to this point. It's hard to hold it up and not cover the microphone. I'm still figuring that out. But there's a lot of steps in this. It's not straightforward. It's not hard, but it's not beginner friendly, in my opinion. I would not knit this as like your first cardigan for sure. So the band, it's nice because you knit it as you go. I prefer that over having to pick up stitches to knit a button band at the end, but it is double knitting. So you actually start this whole sweater using the Judy's Magic Cast On to establish like your double knitting. That was easy. I just looked up a YouTube video, and you knit a little bit in one direction and then you put that on hold and then you knit in the other direction. So then you've established kind of like this amount of your neckline, and then you end up picking up stitches along one of the edges to go ahead and start the brioche downwards. So you worked on, I don't quite remember, but I remember, so there's of course two sides, your right and your left, and you work those sort of long ways, widthwise, but it was like you had to reach a certain length and do all of your brioche increases, and then you end up working part of the back. You end up working the back along the way, or maybe it was that you worked the back and then you picked up and did these widthwise. Now I don't remember, but there was a lot of picking up, other than the button band, a lot of picking up and kind of establishing the shape of the sweater. But now I'm at kind of the easy part because everything has been joined. So all the pieces are joined. I've established my armhole, and now I'm working just the rest of the length of the cardigan. So I have already knit 1 out of 4 button bands, buttonholes into the button band, and I like this, the way that she has you knit the buttonhole. I thought it was nice and simple. I wasn't sure how that would work with double knitting, and it's very simple. And this is going to have 1-inch buttons, so these are definitely bigger buttonholes, but I think having big 1-inch buttons on such a dramatic kind of cardigan works perfectly. So I need to knit the length of 3 more buttonholes, and then I think it ends with ribbing. Now I don't remember, but I'm sure it does. So I do have quite a bit more to go with this. The sleeves are, I'm thinking they're going to be pretty big, but this already goes so far down on the arm. I don't think it's going to be a lot of knitting once I do pick up for the sleeves. So that part will probably be easy. Now, the only thing that I'm concerned with this is the direction of the armhole seems strange where the fabric is all sitting right now. So it's like here is the point, like where this is naturally, trying to think of how to best explain this and show this. Like here is the armhole, but when I hold it just flat, the edges flat against themselves like that, it's like the neckline doesn't seem, it's like all the fabric comes to the front and all of a sudden it's shorter in the back. So it seems like the armhole is naturally opening more towards the back. So part of me is concerned, did I do something wrong with the placement of everything? Did I join at the wrong time? Is something off? I don't know. I'm hoping not. I'm hoping that, because this is kind of a heavier sweater, I'm hoping once I get the rest of the body done, that maybe it'll naturally change direction a little bit. It's hard to tell right now since I only have about 1.5 inches or 2 inches below the armhole knit. So we'll see, but I am slightly concerned about that. Now, with it being oversized, if the sleeves are going in a weird direction, I think it will be okay because naturally the weight of the fiber, I think, is going to, with gravity, bring everything down. I hope I'm making sense. We'll see how this goes. I will be devastated if there's something wrong because of how much knitting this has been. But anyway, it's a beautiful sweater. The color is gorgeous. I think it's going to look nice with my complexion and my hair. Yeah, I think that'll look nice. We'll see. It looks really pretty in this room with this artwork behind me and this couch. I keep photographing it and just kind of like observing it because I think it looks so nice. And I didn't mention the yarns. The yarns are Pearl Soho. The main is a linen quill, so that's the other thing. It's a nice fluffy cardigan because it's held, the fingering weight yarn is held with a silk mohair, and I'm using my favorite silk mohair, which is Pearl Soho Tussock. So I'm using two colors that, in my opinion, the Pearl Soho website, these were not super, like this one was not very accurate to the picture. So when I first got this in the mail, I wasn't very sure how I would feel about pairing these. And on the camera, I think they're losing their contrast a little bit. This looks nice and gold in the camera, but in person, it's very yellow-green. So it's not quite as gold as it's coming across. But I thought when I paired them, it would turn out okay, and it's beautiful. So it's perfectly lovely. I'm very happy with this combination. And Tussock really is my favorite silk mohair because it's extra silky, so it's shiny, it's very soft. I love this yarn. So this is 328 yards to 25 grams. It is made in Japan. The color weight is golden lichen. Very lovely. And then this is linen quill, which I have knit sweaters with before. And this is 50% fine Highland wool, 35% alpaca, and 15% linen. 439 yards to 100 grams. And this is the raw sienna colorway. So those are my yarns for this project. And I just ordered 2 more skeins of this tussock. They should be here soon. I'm pretty sure I severely under-ordered with that when I originally purchased this yarn. It's because I was trying to keep my costs low, and I'm realizing now knitting it, I only have 2 full skeins, which is only 50 grams left, plus this tiny bump. And I don't think there's any way that would get both sleeves. So I ordered 2 skeins. It was on sale, and I had a coupon. So hopefully that's enough. And I'm using a project bag that I made a while back, one of my favorites. I would make more if I could, but I cannot get my hands on this Essex linen. I'm still trying to figure out a solution for that. But I think that the color of the project fits the bag very well. So my next work in progress also uses Pearl Soho linen quill. So I figured we'll do this one next. And this is the Stephen West Cowl for this year. So I have yet to talk about this project in a podcast, but I have talked about it at super length in the vlogs from Vlogtober, since I was recording real time as I was knitting this up and getting started with it. Long story short, I cast on the day that the first clue came out. I knit the whole clue in one day because I loved it. It was very simple. It was relaxing. It was fun because it's modular, so it was very intriguing. Of course, he has accompanying YouTube videos, so he makes things very easy to figure out. And I was just having the best time. When I got home from my shop that day from work, I sat down to start editing the vlog, and I remember getting the email from Stephen West that the original clue one was no more, and the reason why. And I was like stressed out because I had just spent 8.5 hours working only on that shawl. I mean, I really went for it. I was like, I'm going to do it and it's going to be fun. And I did, and it was. Anyway, the first 2 days after that, I remember just kind of sitting with it and thinking, I am not going to knit that again. That was a lot of my time. I mean, that was a big time commitment, a big hand pain commitment, because, knitting a lot can really wear out your body in different ways. And so I was thinking, I cannot go through that again. But really what it was I was coming from a place of real disappointment, I guess, at the thought of the lost time and stuff. But I did, of course, end up, I feel like deep down, because it was making me really emotional. I hated the thought that I was going to continue doing something that might, no matter your opinion on it, and no matter anybody's opinion on it, I mean, even my personal opinion, I, did not think that this was a necessary change just from my personal perspective. But that doesn't mean that I can't value or understand or appreciate where other people are coming from if they think something has the potential of being harmful to anybody. I am a lover of people, and I'm going to do what I can to show my support for people. At the beginning, I was like, I can't do this again. I just won't show anybody mine. It'll be for me. But that really wasn't like the spirit of the MCal. I feel like you all know this. I don't have to keep going on. I decided, okay, I'm just going to start fresh and I'll do it again. So I redid my Clue 1, and I went with the Miss Blaine. She's a Ravelry user. Her name is Miss Blaine, and she had a beautiful alternative clue that she had made, and she put up all the instructions on her Ravelry page. So I followed her clue, and I came out with something very beautiful, similar to the original clue, but different enough that it kind of honored where Stephen West was coming from and why he wanted to change. And it was really when I saw his video kind of explaining where he was coming from and how he was embarrassed and stuff, I knew it was the right thing, especially seeing it from his perspective. I totally got it. Anyway, all that to say, I might have cut out some of that. This is my progress. I fully expected to do the whole thing because I was having so much fun knitting this. And now that I'm pulling it out, I'm like, oh, I want to work on it again. I was having so much fun because the colors were fun. I love the yarn. It was very simple to knit in the most lovely way. So there was always something to change because it was modular, but very easy knitting and just so much fun. But I got a little bit burnt out because of all of like the having to redo Clue 1 and having a bunch of other projects. So it's been sitting in that bag for a while. But now that I'm looking at it, I want to finish it. So this is my modified Clue 1. I got to keep kind of that quilt block look, but everything is, of course, different. So it's not the original one. This is like an improved modification. Stephen West approved this, and I really love it. I think it's just as lovely as the first one. It's just different. And then I have a completed Clue 2. So all of these kind of garter and eyelet rows, and that's where I've stopped. So I've finished Clue 2, and I need to start on Clue 3. At this point, by the way, the MCal is far over, so this is not a spoiler of any kind. But yeah, it's so fun and like vibrant and just, yeah, a lot of fun. I do wear my 2022 Stephen West MCal. My 2021, I don't. It's hanging up in my shop, but it's a real eye catcher for customers, so I like having it up. This one I plan on wearing. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Now the colors are very bright, so this will be something I'll maybe wear in the springtime or the summer, but I've been having a lot of fun with this project. And again, these are Pearl Soho linen quill. These are my 4 cakes in there. And this project bag is like a quilted scrap project bag that I made for myself a while back. But my first color, my lightest color, is peony pink. So it's a blush pink color. My second color is, I think, oh no, this is the second color. And this one is called Peachy Pink. It's really pretty. I think the light from outside is starting to change the colors because it's later in the afternoon. That's Peachy Pink. My third color is Bright Flamingo. Yeah, the outside light is not doing this justice. There you can see them compared. And then the last one, I think this one's called Pink Pop, and it's like a fuchsia. It's a lot different than this one, despite the way it looks on camera. So those are my yarns. It's really lovely. Right now it's a big square, but I've seen the whole thing. I know what it will become. I'm most excited for Clue 3. I think that looks like a very fun stitch pattern, and I think it's going to change the overall look very much and be very pretty. It's a very big shawl, which I'm excited about. A lot of people have been complaining that it's small, and it could be that my gauge is maybe bigger, so maybe I'm getting a bigger one, but I don't think this is small, and I don't know. I think it's great. I think it's perfect size. So I have one side still on the needles, and the other side is held. And this is one of my favorite stitch markers that I have. My friend and family member, Jenny, she made this, but I thought the pink donut was perfect for this one. But yeah, that's a big work in progress. I've done so much on this. I need to just pull it out and finish it. All of my friends have told me that Clue 3 takes the longest, so I know I have a lot of work ahead of me. But when I have the time, that is definitely happening. My next work in progress is a test knit, and this is for, I think her name is Natalie, but Teti's Knit Garden, a fabulous, amazing designer. She's designed the Bifurca vest and now the Bifurca pullover. I think she's a botanist turned knitwear designer, so all of her patterns are heavily inspired by botany, and everything about that is just, it's like perfect for me. I love it. So I was very excited and honored to be chosen for her most recent test knit. This one is called Polina Pullover, and I want to say that this is inspired. I know she's a Ukrainian designer. I think this is a Ukrainian artist, but she's inspired by an artist whose name is Polina, and I guess I'm thinking that the artist is Ukrainian. I need to sit down and actually research the artist. I was just so smitten with the design, I haven't even looked. But anyway, this is due January, so I've pretty much knocked it out of, I've pretty much finished. I just have to do 2 sleeves, which will be nice and easy. But this is a fingering weight, top-down, colorwork sweater. The collar that I have is folded over, so it's, double layer of fabric. And she gives you options for this collar. So she has a beautiful kind of lace work, slightly lace work mock neck option. And she also has like a crew neck option and then the double knit option. So what I did was, if you're going to do the double knit, you actually just knit the lace it's not really lace, it's a unique ribbing. So there's these rows here, if it'll focus, that are kind of like, I don't remember how we did it. Was it slip stitches? I don't know. But it's like every few rows, you get kind of this little texture. It's very pretty. But you do that part the same if you're going to do the double neck. You do the original one. So you can kind of knit the first neckline and see if you want to keep that or do the double knit. I really wanted to do the folded over, so I did that. And she taught me a new technique for knitting folded over collar that actually, so I've only done folded over collars in the past where at the end you go in and you basically sew it down on the inside. This one, you actually, when you finish the neckline, you actually go ahead and fold it in half and you knit 2 together with your live stitches. So your neckline stitches like this, you actually pick up the stitch, the cast on stitch that corresponds with your current live stitch. So when you're going to do that, you'll pick up the stitch and then you'll knit 2 together with your current live stitch. And so it's just one round of knitting 2 together, and then you have this beautiful folded over collar. And to me, that was revolutionary. I'm sure many of you have heard of that or used it yourself. To me, that was new, and it was so easy. It takes a little bit of time just to make sure you're picking up each stitch and it's the correct column. But it's very simple, and now I don't have to sew that down in the end, and I can try it on and know what it's going to look like. So I was very happy with that. And I've already used that technique on another sweater I'll show in a minute. So very lovely pattern. I added a little bit of a few rows here. I'm knitting the size 2, which doesn't have, I don't think, quite as much positive ease as she was recommending perhaps, but I know myself, and a lot of the times when a sweater is going off of bust size, like full bust size, and it has a recommended positive ease, that positive ease normally is too much, kind of like what I was talking about earlier. The body ease becomes far too much for me based on just the bust size. So maybe I'm getting the recommended 4 to 6 inches in the bust, but then I have a massive amount of ease in the waist is what it seems like every time. I'm always disappointed. So I decided I would go with a size that was a little bit closer to my bust, and then perhaps I would like the fit of the body better. And so this one is going to be a little bit more slim fitting than I think her sample, but I've already tried it on and I've blocked it and I love it. So I'm very happy I did that. And so yeah, I did add a few rows extra here before splitting for the sleeves, just to make sure that I had, and that's a modification she suggests if you want a little bit more yoke depth. And so I thought maybe I would need that. And then my 2 yarns, these are my hand-dyed yarns. So the main color, this beautiful, rich golden color, I've been so into this color recently. But this is my hand-dyed yarn, and the colorway is called Caramel Latte, and this is on my BFL nylon base. It's a fingering weight. BFL nylon is like my favorite yarn base. It takes the dye in such a rich way. It's beautiful. I love it very much. And so my caramel latte colorway, this is the first time I've dyed it on BFL, and I love just how much richer it is than even on merino. I think it's beautiful on merino, but this just amplified this particular golden color very much. And then my contrast is actually my leftover main skein from this one. So I've been wanting to do like the amber gold with minty sagey green color combination for a while. I think I first noticed it from Olga Putano. She has recently come out with an all over colorwork sweater where she uses these two colors or similar colors, and I was like just in love. So I thought this was a great opportunity to use these colors. So I did. I love it so much. And I did use helical knitting to introduce my new skein in the body. I did not alternate skeins in the top, but I was running out of the yarn right when I finished about here. So then I went ahead and introduced the second skein with helical knitting. And you know, the nature of hand-dyed yarn, even though these two skeins were dyed in the same pot or the same pan, the first skein I used was definitely the richest, like darkest out of all of them. And the second skein was still pretty rich, but I could tell it was just a tad lighter. So I'm glad I used helical knitting, which means that every other row is the different skein. So you're alternating skeins every row. I'd never used this technique before. It took me a second to do it correctly each time, but it's really easy. You just have to do it correctly. That sounds silly. That's like all things, but it was easy. I just followed a YouTube video on how to do that. Or I looked at a blog, actually. I read a blog how to do it. I went old school. Yeah, I'm glad I did that. So I have this one. Oh, hang on. I'm going to not talk for a second. It's so pretty. I love it. I'm excited about this one. So I'm going to actually put this one away since I have 4 or 5 weeks still to finish the test. And it'll take me a couple days for the sleeves, but I'm putting it away because I have another work in progress to show you that I am determined. Where did it go? Uh-oh, I have to pause. I might not have brought it. Oh no. So I'm actually shocked. I forgot to bring my work in progress that I'm like the most determined to get done. This is really disappointing. I was grabbing it on my way out, but I was saying goodbye to my daughter, and I think I must have left it by the door. That's really too bad. I might try to insert right here a less pretty, me just talking about it like overview, because my goal is to get it done by this coming weekend. So today's Sunday. Next Sunday, I have an event to go to, and I really want to wear this sweater. It is the Violetta by Claudia Quintanilla of Unit Toronto. And actually, right now, I'm in the process of not doing daily vlogs for December, but I am compiling like a couple days here and there into videos. I haven't published one yet, but I did yesterday record me showing this project. So perhaps I'll have that video up around the time that this video is up, and you can go see it there if you want to. But I'm knitting this gorgeous lace and cable pullover. It's like silk mohair and merino nylon. It's perfect. It's a lovely project. I'm knitting it out of my Ara colorway, which is the colorway that I dye named after my, touch the mic, that I named after my daughter. So it's just a special project for me. And I have made so much progress. I cast it on the same day, I think, as this one. And I was focusing on this one with it being a test knit. But now that I'm determined to wear that one for the event next weekend, because I bought a rose gold floor length glittery skirt to go with it. So it has to be done. I want to wear this. Yeah, I'll definitely have put in a picture or something, hopefully some B-roll so you can see it, because it's so pretty. But I'm trying to get it done. So I have 1 week, and theoretically sooner than that so it can block and dry. But I have, so just yesterday, I finished the raglan increasing and got the yoke done. Then I separated for sleeves, and now I've already knit inches on the body. Today, when I go home and knit again, when I run out of the yarn I'm currently using for the body, I'm going to go ahead and pick up and knit one of the sleeves. So that way I can kind of get a feel for how long the sleeves will take. And the body, I should be able to fly through. I work from home tomorrow, so I think I'll get this done really quickly. I can be a fast knitter if I just put my nose to the grindstone, but of course I have a daughter. So anyway, I don't have the project to show you, but my goal is to get it done by next weekend. So that's that. Okay, so I have more works in progress, but I'm only going to show one more because this is an active work in progress. And I currently have it in my Alice in Wonderland project bag. This was one of the first ones I ever sewed. I used to make this style of bag pretty often, this big, almost tote style with like an internal zipper pocket and this like button and loop closure. But I love this fabric, like foresty, Alice in Wonderland. I made a couple of these to sell and definitely made this one. It's actually wearing out a little bit because I've used it so much as a purse. But I'm using it for my current project. Not this one. This is just a Musselburgh hat. I forgot this was in here. Side note, real quick, from the project I was about to show you, because I cast this on back in October, right before I went to Rhinebeck trip. I think I had like 3 projects I cast on to take with me. But this one, I wanted some easy stockinette knitting while I was traveling. So this is a skein of lamb strings yarn. I think it's the Sugar and Spice colorway. Just a nice speckled, kind of lightly variegated yarn. And I have knit most of a Musselburgh hat. So this is my second ever Musselburgh. I haven't weighed this. I need to today. Probably 25 or 30 grams left. I'm trying to just use up the whole skein, but I want to knit this long enough to have a fold over cuff because my first one, it's like just perfect. The hat circumference, the length is great, but it doesn't fold over. And for this one, I want it to fold. So I'm going to really knit this and use up as much of the skein as I can. But yeah, just simple stockinette knitting for when I need something to do with my hands so I'm not idle. Okay, this project is I did get like a winter countdown kind of box for December. It's a 15-day box from Yarnaceous Fibers and it's called Floral Soars. So it's a combination of like floral inspiration and of course dinosaurs. And I got the warm color palette. She also had a cool color palette. And so with it being a 15-day, technically today should have been the day I opened the first mini, but I forgot that it was only a 15-day and I wanted to get started like December 1st. So I went ahead and bumped up my days a little bit, but by the time this video comes out, these will no longer be a surprise. Like if you have this, you would have already opened them. So I'm going to show it, just disclaimer. I'm a little bit cheating with my days. So tomorrow I should have opened day 4, but I've already opened day 4 because I've worked it into the project. So I'm just bumping up the timeline a little bit. No big deal. I'm knitting the Daft Days cardigan by Rebecca Clow of the Crayabea. Her sample sold me so hard. It's like this gorgeous stitch pattern, the slip stitch pattern. Her version had like rainbow stripes and I just loved it. So since this is a DK weight mystery box, that's what the pattern calls for. So I figured this would be perfect. So as you can see, I already have 2 days worth of stripes in here. This is the main skein. It's a beautiful creamy color. It's being blown out, but again, with this being a warm box, a warm palette for the box, this colorway, there are your cool tone white and creams and then your warm tone. This is a warm tone, so it's like very buttercream kind of looking, not yellow, but on the yellow side. Anyway, that's my main. And then we'll just say day 1, because it's the first mini I opened, is this beautiful kind of rose terracotta colorway. So it's a bit pinker in person than it shows up on the camera. It's actually just like my nails. But as soon as I opened this, I was like, oh, this is going to be a beautiful cardigan. So I've striped that in. I love this slip stitch pattern. It's very pretty. I'm knitting size 2, by the way. That should give me just the perfect amount of positive ease. And then this is technically day 4, but I opened this last night before I left my shop. And then I went ahead and knitted it into the pattern. So I might have to go ahead and open another one. But this is day 2, and it's like this kind of like a latte colors. So when I opened it last night, when it was dark outside, I thought it was a little bit more yellow, but I see that it's a bit more of like a khaki kind of tan coffee color. Really, really pretty. So I love the way that this is knitting up. I think this is going to be a very sophisticated cardigan. And then I will probably knit a second one of these in rainbow stripes, just like the sample that Rebecca did, because I loved the fun rainbow that she came up with. It's so pretty. So anyway, that's where I'm at. This will be a fun project to keep me busy all of December. Longest video ever. Now I'm going to talk about everything or the majority of things that I've purchased in the past few months. So I haven't recorded since September, I think. And since then, I have been to Rhinebeck. I've been to New York Sheep and Wool. I went to Wool and Folk. So yeah, there's been some time has passed. I have new things to show you guys. So this segment will probably be pretty long. I know that some people only watch the sections where you talk about what you're knitting or what you've knit, and I completely get that. I get that watching this part of a podcast can be a little bit influencing. So I can totally get why somebody would tune out at this point. Maybe you don't want to feel a need to go spend money that you don't want to spend, that kind of thing. I totally get that. Sometimes I have to turn off videos even though I don't want to, because that's how I'm going to have self-control. So I just want to, it's like fair warning that there's a lot of stuff coming up. My goodness, some of these things are like pre-orders from a while back. And anyway, that's all I'm going to say. But just be aware that there is a lot here. I did drive across the country to buy things at New York Sheep and Wool, so I bought things, okay? Anyway, let's get started. So I'll go ahead and start with Wool and Folk. And again, if you're watching my Vlogtober, you've already seen some of this stuff, but we'll start with Wool and Folk since that was the first day of the yarn buying trip in October when we went to Rhinebeck. And, I mentioned I left pretty early. I did. I think I was the first person in the event because I had a stroller. So I was at the front of the line. There was a few people ahead of me, but they called me in first since I had my baby in a stroller and I guess it was raining. It was really sweet. But I think I was also one of the first people to leave. So I couldn't handle it, especially with my daughter. She was my top concern. And people were getting very handsy with my baby, and that was very deeply unsettling. So anyway, all that to say, there were many vendors I wanted to purchase from, but I only managed to purchase from the Wandering Flock. And their booth was in a weird place. I felt terrible for them. I think a lot of people couldn't even find them. So I'm glad that I came across them before I left and was able to purchase what I went for. They gave me this bag, but I knew exactly, oh, this is a mess. I don't know what happened. I haven't been in this bag. Anyway, I set out to purchase 4 skeins of this specific colorway, and I did. And then we left. So this is the Wandering Flock. This is their super wash extra fine merino. It's 100 grams. It's 230 yards, a DK weight. I got 4 skeins. The colorway is hundreds and thousands, which is the term for sprinkles in Australia, is what Geraldine had said. It is the most perfect lavender rose kind of base color. It's very stunning with these beautiful pops of fuchsia and a little bit of bright blue, orange, basically all of the neons, but super, she said that they're each hand painted, and I believe it because they're perfect. They're very precise, very beautiful, and I'm super excited about this. So I'm going to make the Neon Nectar pullover, which is a newer design by Wool and Pine Designs. It's a beautiful pattern. This is just the right yarn for it. So this will be a very soon cast on. It's an imminent cast on, but I'm super happy that I got to get some of this yarn, and it is definitely so soft. So it was fun seeing all of her yarns in person so that I can kind of know if I plan to make a purchase online from them at some point, what I would want. but they do like the pastel neons very well. So I think this will be a nice, very nice sweater. The light, I think, is blowing it out just a tad, but believe me that it's beautiful. I don't know what happened here. These have been sitting still in my bag. I must have shaken the bag or something, but the little yarn came undone. So you can kind of get a good feel for the color. So that is something I purchased. Oh yeah, and they gave me a little holographic sweater sticker with the Wandering Flock logo. Very cute. Okay, and then the next day at Sheep and Wool, my plans when I went to New York Sheep and Wool was to buy the yarn for that sweater and then to buy the yarn to make a bifurca vest. Like I mentioned earlier, the Teti's Knit Garden pattern. And at this time, she hadn't come out with the pullover pattern yet. Otherwise, I would have purchased enough to make to make a pullover and a vest. But I bought 2 quantities to make the vest because I walked into New York Sheep and Wool. It was still nice and calm because it was kind of early. And I literally bought yarn at the first booth I went into, which is kind of an amateur move because there's so much to see. But at the end of the day, I knew that this was exactly what I was looking for. And I'm so glad I got it when I did because the whole rest of the event, I never came across just the right yarn again. So it was like meant to be, okay? So I bought 2 vest quantities. We'll call them vest quantities. Because I could not decide between 2 of the color palettes that I was kind of putting together. And you will see a similarity here. So this yarn is Nash Island Woolen Yarn Tied. And I believe that this is a yarn store. It says starcraftfiber.com. I think that maybe this is a yarn store and this is maybe something milled specifically for them because I have since Googled this and not found this as a company like the Nash Tide. I think it's a line for this yarn store. I don't know. But they had a beautiful booth, lots of these beautiful tonals. And as I said, you might see a similarity. I basically got the same colors. Yeah. And what's funny is like seeing this, at least for the main color, I could have probably just dyed it myself. Isn't that how that goes? But I mean, this is a beautiful wool. I love it very much. And the contrast, I have yet to dye a color just like this. So I'm glad I bought it. But yeah, I've been very into this color palette recently. So my contrast here, this colorway is called Driftwood. And it's a beautiful sagey mint green, like I've talked about a bunch of times. And these are 100% wild Maine Island wool, hand dyed in down east Maine. So yeah, low traveling for this yarn because this is all from the US, which is wonderful. And these are sport weight, which is what that pattern calls for. And that's part of why I went ahead and bought it instead of dyed it myself because I didn't have any sport weight here. But this is 175 yards, 250 grams. So this will be my contrast. I kind of can't believe I'm knitting the same palette. And then this colorway, I think is cider. Yep, cider. So I got 4 skeins of cider. So I've got 200 grams there and 50 grams of my contrast. And that's all she wrote. But these feel incredible. They are so nice. So I'm super excited to start on my bifurca vest. And then I have another color palette because again, I could not decide and I have been very much into pink and brown together too. So I also have this color palette and it's all the same wool, but this colorway is anemone and it's very pretty. They had a couple of dye lots. So one dye lot was a little bit more on like the purple lilac side and this one was more of a true pink. So I went with this one. And then this will be my contrast. It's a very rich, almost pink leaning brown. So I think it's going to be perfect. This colorway is Peat, P-E-A-T. Yeah, I can't wait to start this. I do wish that maybe one of these had been the pullover instead of the vest. And the pullover is a fingering weight, whereas this is a sport weight. But honestly, I think these would work just fine. For the pullover. So I might just see, instead of knitting 2 vests, I might knit 1 vest, see how I feel about it as a knitted thing, because I don't have any knitted vests. If it seems like something I'll wear a lot, I'll go ahead and knit the second one. Otherwise, I'll just get my hands on a little bit more of the yarn and try to knit the pullover out of one of, like, probably this one. I'll probably do the pullover because I have another pullover already, those colors. Anyway, so I have lots of beautiful yarn here to play with in the coming year. I'm very excited. I am really obsessed with these yarns. If and when I go back to New York Sheep and Wool, I'm going to find them. I'm going to buy all of their yarn. Like, that's what I'm going to go and buy. Just that. I love it. It's perfect. And then, okay, so here's another thing that I got, and this was actually gifted to me. It's beautiful. It says Rhinebeck Weekend 2023, and on the back it has my friend Brooke, her label. She's a yarn dyer. ThePetiteKnits is her brand, and we are technically like cousins or something in like a marriage related way. She's in my family, but like distant and not by blood. But anyway, it's fun that I have like a yarn dyer family member. It was great when we discovered one another. Anyway, she made me this bag because we all got to meet up, her and then some other people in the family. And they gifted me this bag. So we all had one. It was like the perfect keepsake, and it was great for shopping. It's got a zipper closure. I guess they dyed it. It has like a very faint blue, almost tie-dye, but it's subtle and very pretty. So I felt very special that she gave this to me. I've been using it to store all of my yarn. So you already saw the yarn that I got from Sawkill Fibers. That was like the only other sweater quantity. That was the only other yarn that I bought on that trip. And I've already knitted up. So other than the skein of navy, which I think I will do a small hat out of this, either for myself or as a gift. I might make it into a hat to wear with that sweater so I can still pair the peach and the navy. But yeah, that was all the yarn that I bought. But I did buy fiber. I have already gifted one of the fiber braids that I brought home to my lovely friend Cheryl because she's also started spinning this year. So I gifted her some of that. I'm currently spinning one of the fiber braids because I am going to gift that hand spun to another friend. I'm very excited to do that. But I do have a couple more fiber braids here. And these I could not pass up. I bought a bunch of them because these were all from Feederbrook Farms. And each of these braids was only $10 for 4 ounces, which is pretty nice. They don't have colorway names on them or anything because the labels just have the brand logo and I guess their website, but I can tell that these were like yarn labels that they didn't end up using because they have yarn stats on them. These don't have colorways, but they're gorgeous. And so I kind of got like one of each of all the ones I loved. I think this was the one that drew me into the booth. I got 6 total and I gifted one. I'm spinning one for a friend. So I have 4 left for myself. So I'm going to use these as probably to make like mittens and also use them as color work skeins for pullovers and whatnot. But this was my favorite one, I think. I don't know. I can't pick. I love it though. So that's one of them. This one is definitely a favorite. I love the bright peach and pink and then the forest green and even the yellow in this. I love this braid. And I think that these are all blue-faced Leicester, which is, again, one of my favorite types of yarn. I've yet to spin with it, so I'm excited to spin with this, but I love the peachy color in there. I think this is actually maybe the same as the first one I showed, but the color, there's a little bit more, well, I don't know. I think this one is my actual favorite. It has this bright blue, this very neon like fuchsia, and this purple, orange. I cannot wait to spin this one for myself. After I finish my gift spin, I'll probably do this one next. And then one last one, the most different from the rest, I guess. This one is deep navy and like turquoise or teal, cream, like undyed patches, and then the bright fuchsia. This is going to make very beautiful yarn. So I am extremely spoiled right now with fiber. I have so much fiber, so much beautiful fiber. I still can't believe that I found these for such a good price. So I was able to get quite a few instead of maybe like, I think I could have gotten 2 or 3 for the same price from another dyer. Not to say I wouldn't support somebody else, but anyway. I should drink some water. I'm overwhelming myself. So that was everything that I purchased from the Rhinebeck trip. But I do have other things to show you, just general things that I've acquired. So there's some fiber and some yarn here. Since I'm talking about fiber, I'll go ahead and show this. In October or so, I had a bunch of reward points from Revolution Fiber, that's who I purchased my spinning wheel through, my Shocked Ladybug. And because I had made such a big purchase, I had a ton of reward points. So I was able to get some basically free fiber. I had enough to get free fiber, but since I was placing an order, I bought some too. But I got these 3 stunning merino bumps of fiber. These are each 1 ounce, which is a pretty good amount of yarn. But I really wanted to try all 3 of these colors, and maybe, depending on how these spin up, I might get the 1 pound option of one of these and do a full sweater spin. I'm thinking maybe this color. And I want to say this one was called Amber. This one might have been Toffee, and this is like neon pink. I don't remember the names, but maybe this one was Amber and this was Rust. I think that's right. This one is maybe neon pink. But I love these colors together. I think these are so fun. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to spin these all as singles and then ply the 3 of them. I have not done a 3-ply before, so I don't know if I'll do a 3-ply or if I will spin like 1 whole bump of each of these onto a bobbin and then spin like half of this. Or maybe I'll do these 2 just as singles, and then I'll do half of this with each one and then ply them so that this ends up throughout the whole skein. So this will be like, I'm sure that you can follow what I'm saying. I'm picturing it. I can't describe it very well, but I think that would work. And so then I would have this one solid, because if I just spun it, if I plied them in the opposite direction, but then I'd have to change out. No, it would work. I would just have to sit down and like map out how to spin this first. But anyway, I'm excited about these. And then also in that order, I got their orange sampler pack. So it's a variety of fibers, a variety of colors, and I've already spun one of them up. I did make a little bit of a mistake. So I only own 3 bobbins. I need to get more, but they are expensive. I know you can get 3D printed ones, so I might need to look into that. But anyway, I've already started my gift spin, and I was planning, this is one of the little fiber bumps that I got in this orange pack, and it is I think there's maybe silk and merino, I don't remember, but it's tweed. And I spun this, so this is a single. This is looking extremely even and balanced. So this would be perfect, I think, as a 2-ply with something else. And anyway, I'm going to need this bobbin empty to ply my gift spin. So I'm going to have to wind this into a single skein, I think. But then I can use it as a contrast in something, I don't know. My plan had been to ply it with this tweed yarn that came from the same pack. It's a beautiful like creamy color with these sort of vibrant orange and yellow tweed speckles. And I thought that would be fun to do a 2-ply of this. So I need to hurry up and decide because I want to finish and gift that yarn. And I don't want to sacrifice this if I could do a 2-ply. So I might order like 1 bobbin that is 3D printed. We'll see. I need another bobbin. I really do. But I love those. And then also in that pack came this fiber, which I think is a bamboo merino, and it looks very similar to the skein that Tammy from the fiber that Tammy from Cinematic Skeins sent to me. I won from one of her giveaways. It almost looks identical, so I might be able to add this in with that. I don't know. It's very pretty. It's very shiny. And then I also got this one in that pack. And again, it was so fun to get all this fiber for pretty much free. It was really nice. But this one's also shiny. The website lists what the content is, so I'll have to look at that again when I go to use it or spin it. This one's my favorite. So this is the same as the little amber one that I already showed, but it has this beautiful metallic fiber all throughout, and it's like this iridescent rainbow fiber. And I don't think that they offer this in a bigger size. Otherwise, I think this would be my sweater spin. It is like fancy and shimmery in the nicest way. But anyway, there was one more. This one's my least favorite, so I'll probably gift this once I spin to somebody who likes these colors. This is not a color palette that I personally like, but I can spin this as a gift. That was everything that came in the orange pack. Now moving on to yarn. That's all the fiber that I have to show. I have 3 skeins of this yarn that I got for a super discounted price. This is from the Knitting Nakabi, and I guess that she is changing, I don't know, the format of her business or what yarn bases she offers. I'm not really sure. I've never had her yarn before, but she had these each for maybe $10, and this was a base that I've really wanted to try. It's a BFL and Masham base. It's 75% non-superwash BFL and 25% Masham. It's fingering weight, and these are naturally dyed with indigo. The colorway is Cookie Monster. But this is a base I wanted to try, so with her having this for such a good price, and it's a color that I've been into recently, I decided to go ahead and give this a try, and I'm going to knit a Ponderosa pullover by Wool & Pine Designs. It's like a cable knit pullover. It's really pretty. I already have the pattern. I think it's Wool & Pine. So I'm excited to make this up. And then I have a couple of months here to show you guys of the Yarnaceous. This is the monthly Paleobotany Club that Maggie does. I don't remember what months some of these are, and it doesn't say, but I do remember that this one was October. So this is like a monthly club that I've been subscribed to for the entire year. I just paid for my last one for December, and then I'll be done, but I have 12 skeins of yarn I need to go through. So this is October, and I'm not going to say the name because I can't, but it's really pretty. It's purple and orange. This would be a fun pair of socks. This colorway I may have already shown. This one I think was September. Or no, this one was September, I think. So maybe I showed this, maybe I didn't. I think this is my favorite, or one of my favorites so far. It's like rainbow speckles, but in a Maggie kind of way. Like, she does earthy palettes really well. So it's a lot of fun. It's very Maggie, I think, if I could just say so from what I know of her yarn. And then this one was November. It's very similar, but it's a lot paler. But yeah, very similar. In fact, if I was to do a fade, these would be perfect together. And then I have 3 skeins. This is almost the last yarn I'm going to show you. But for like Small Business Saturday kind of stuff, Primrose Yarn, who I've never had their yarn before, but I saw that they had some really pretty yarn, and it was going to be half price. And I have been wanting to make one of the Andrea Mowry cowl patterns. I think it's the shift. It's the 3 skein version. She also has like the night shift, which has maybe 6 or 7 spin cycle colorways. And that's a no from me. But this one I've been wanting to make, the shift, I think is what it is. So I got 3 colorways of Primrose. And yes, I could spin this yarn myself now. And I fully plan on it. I do want to make the night shift in my Handspun, but I really have never gotten to try a yarn quite like this. So I thought it would be a fun time to do so. So these are all sport weight, and this colorway is called Milky Way. In the pictures, I was really hoping that this would be a more brown skein. She had some examples where there was like a rich chocolatey brown that was like a large percentage of the skein, but that's how this kind of yarn works. You kind of never know exactly what you're going to get. So I was a little bit disappointed that this skein actually had no brown at all, when a lot of the pictured ones had a lot of brown, because I was going to use it. Well, I like pink and brown together, but I was going to use it to tie in this next colorway. It'll still work, but not quite the same. This one is called Bad Karma, which I think is like a Taylor Swift thing, which is not for me, but I hope that you enjoy it. But I think that's what named after, but I like that together. And then my third color is going to be very different. Again, this is why I needed that brown in that first skein, but no big deal. This one is called, so it's a mismatch. So I guess she's mixing two of her normal colorways. It's a combination of Starling and Bramble. And it's very pretty, and I think this will be a very nice cowl. Okay, I've got one more yarn thing to show you. I'm still waiting on my pre-order, that last skein of yarn that I need from Treehouse Knits to finish my rose cardigan, this like epic cardigan that I've been knitting. It's been on hold for months because I've been missing one skein, and I ordered it when Treehouse Knits did their like pre-order for their favorites collection. She brought this colorway back. I've been waiting for it for almost 4 full months. I think this coming week is the last week for her scheduled pre-order, so I'm expecting it'll come in the next week. My goal is to get this cardigan done by the end of this year because I really want it, and I hate that it's been sitting there for so long. Anyway, this is my first time ordering from Explorer Knits, and I did see their booth in person at Woolen Folk, but again, the chaos, I didn't even look in their direction. But I did have a pre-order because I want to knit a Strya cardigan, which is another Andrea Mowry. I'm suddenly talking a bunch about Andrea Mowry. She has this beautiful striped cardigan pattern, and I first saw Airy of Airy Knits knit it, and I thought it was so beautiful. I decided I wanted one, and this palette from Explorer Knits I thought was just right. So she did a Spain collection, and I got all of the minis. So I got all these minis. They're fingering weight. They're beautiful. I definitely understand the hype for Explorer Knits. These are gorgeous tonals. She does that very well. I guess she and her team, they're very pretty. I am thinking I might not use this skein because I'm thinking I want my main color to be this. So I think I'm going to dye this colorway. I have a very similar colorway in my repertoire. So I think I'll take this out from the stripes and just have the rest of the colors be my stripes and make that my main. Otherwise, I'll do an undyed, kind of just a white base. I'm still deciding. This is going to be a late next year kind of project, I think. And actually, I could just knit another, this could be my kind of rainbow Daft Days cardigan if I held these double. But I don't know, maybe I'll do that because I already own that pattern. We'll see how the first one goes. I think I'll do the Strya, but we'll see. That's all the yarn. Are you exhausted? Because I'm exhausted. I can't believe how long I've been sitting here talking about this. This is what happens when I disappear for a while. My goodness. I've been wanting to sit down and record for a long time, but it has not worked out with recording the Vlogtober, and then this past month, I don't even have time to talk about the shop expansion. That'll be another day. I am recording my little mini vlog, so I'm talking a little bit about that in those videos, but it's been a lot. I do have lots of other little notions and adorable things that I got from Lindsay of Simply Serving, but just for the sake of time, I think I'm just going to go ahead and wrap it up here, and I'll just show you guys those next time. A lot of those are actually on the project that I forgot to bring anyway, so maybe when I do my B-roll to add in that project, you'll get to see some of them. But I got her mitten blockers. She sent me a gift, a little 2-inch gauge ruler. It's beautiful. So beautiful. I felt so lucky that she sent it to me because I thought about buying one, and then I've purchased quite a few of her things recently, so I didn't buy it, and then I felt kind of bad when she gifted it to me, but I'm very grateful because it's beautiful. I didn't already own one, so there we go. Oh my, I have a huge mess to clean up. It's nice to see you guys again. It's nice to be back again. I hope that you enjoyed this very long video. I hope that I remember to put everything in the description. It's going to take me a little while to edit this, but I will work on that. Let me know if you have any questions for me down below. And I hope that I get my vlog footage up soon in case you're interested in that. A lot of you guys were super responsive and sweet about my Vlogtober. I kept saying I was going to go in and respond to the comments. I read every single one throughout the month. I got done with Vlogtober and I was so worn out. I just couldn't do that at the time. But anyway, I'll talk to you guys soon. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that the microphone worked. I'm so scared that I'm going to play this back and it'll have not recorded anything. But happy approaching winter. I hope you all have a lovely cold season if that's where you are, if that's what you're headed into, or a warm season if that's what you're coming up to. Yeah, so I'll talk to you guys hopefully sooner rather than later. Thank you for watching. If you could, I would appreciate it if you would like this video and subscribe to my channel if you have not already. We did just hit 1,000 subscribers. We're already over that, but over Vlogtober, that helped to bring a lot of people in, and that was really great. So thank you for helping me reach 1,000 subscribers. Okay, bye, I'm signing off. Talk to you guys real soon, hopefully.